Hey, oh my god. So remember when I said that I really hope my next video would be like an update video or something? Well, that's not happening. We're here for another, talking point, another opinion, another let's have a conversation. So I feel like this is a healthy way for me to talk about things. So my friends aren't like, oh my god, we get it. And people on Facebook are like, oh, not again. You know what I'm saying? Because at least on my second channel, no one's going to see this, right? Well, who knows? Let's hope not. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm watching a video called The Transformation of Ireland Immigration, Asylum, and Demographics. I mean, I'm going to do myself a favor, and I'm going to turn it off. There we go. Because I don't really want to continue. Because it's already, like, dipping near shitty ideas that may find their home on the far right or the populist right. And we just, you know what, we don't fuck with the far right, we don't fuck with populism. All binaries are false binaries, everything is complex. Like, these are like the top 4 sayings on this channel, right? So I just want to talk about like asylum seekers, refugees, all that stuff, like specifically in like Europe, but like this has also happened in the US and Canada. Um Listen, it's a really tough situation in Europe, right? Like, this has been a topic for at least 4 or 5 years at this point. It's a really rough situation because there are millions of refugees that have left Syria because of the war and have found where are they going to go? Like geographically, they're going to go through Turkey to Europe. Like, they're not going to go. Like, obviously a lot went to Jordan and a lot went to Turkey, but a lot also were like, okay, well, there's already like a fuck ton in Turkey and Jordan. Like, guess we're going to Europe, because geographically it's there. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of the Gulf countries were. I mean, the Gulf countries have helped in their own regards, and you know what? I think we're all thankful for that. But the Syrian refugees didn't, like, Saudi Arabia, well, didn't immediately open its border and was like, oh, come on, we got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, open the gates and let them flood. You know what I'm saying? Like, that didn't happen, right? Neither did any North African country. I'm sure Egypt has done its part. Like, Iran, obviously not. And explain to me why, like, the Syrian refugees are obviously not going to go to fucking Russia or any of Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan or Uzbekistan or Turkey. They're not going there either, okay? Because they'd have to go through Iran to get there, okay? I'm sure Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia would love to help, and maybe they have, but, like, I don't know if they can handle, all those refugees. Now, Europe is rich, it's wealthy, and it was the place that people decided to seek refuge, okay? You know what? It happened. It did. It happened. And they went there. And not only that, but you have lots of economic migrants and other asylum seekers from different countries, mostly from like North Africa and Afghanistan, who've like come into Europe recently too. And again, like, these people do have the right to seek asylum. Like, that's a human right. So there's no argument there. Don't even try to contest me on that. So people are allowed to flee to other countries and claim asylum, and then that case gets reviewed, and then if it's legit, it's legit. Unless we're unfairly sending people back to their countries where they're going to be killed, and that's not legit. But you do have a friction right now because all of a sudden you have, a decently a large amount of people from a different part of the world coming into countries. You know what I'm saying? So obviously there's friction, right? There is friction. It is Europe. It is a continent with a history of racism on its own turf and otherwhere around the world. So, you know, we have to contextualize this a little bit. And also, you just have, you know, people from the far right who have an agenda, who, I guess, in my opinion, want to like have like a second Holocaust. I don't know. Sounds like it though. Um, and you have, fear in a society, and you have people who are uneducated about, you know, Syrians, about, a lot of these migrants are Muslim. who are uneducated about Islam and the diversity that exists in Islam. You know, people aren't meeting each other. Refugees, a lot of them are, in they're in like ghettos basically. I don't mean like the American definition of ghetto, like the hood or like whatever, which I think is like problematic. Um, but I mean they're stuck in like they're grouped up. For example, like in Parisian suburbs, or you know they're in refugee centers for like too long. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's also partly because of a lack of a European Union wide call to action. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's great that they took in the refugees. I think ultimately that's an amazing thing because, like, where else are these people going to go? You know what I'm saying? And when the war does end, people don't realize this, but a huge chunk of them are going to go back. You know what I'm saying? Like, not all, but a huge chunk will return. When a lot of people fled New Orleans due to Hurricane Katrina, and a lot of people never went back, but a lot of people did go back. You know what I'm saying? Like the Rwandan genocide, a lot of people were killed. It was disgusting. Like, especially like the global inaction, and but again, after it was over, people went home. So, like, people will go home. You know what I'm saying? If situations improve in their country, they will go home, right? And we do have to understand that the instability, the war, the economic distress, the poverty, etc., unfortunately, has its legacies, has its roots in European colonialism. So in a way, Europe does, I think, as does America, as does Canada, have a responsibility to, in a time of crisis, stick its neck out, for refugees from Syria and from Africa and Afghanistan. You know what I'm saying? Like it does, and I think also, and people who might argue with me on that might say, well, what about Europe's own people? And I'm like, no, you're right. Like 100%. European governments need to show up for their people. Like I said, I believe in good governance. I believe in governments that show up for its people. Like, yeah, 100%. And it is shitty if a country can't even show up for its own people, but all of a sudden is best friends with people who aren't from that. Like, I get it. Like, I get how that makes you feel. And I get, like, all of a sudden you have all these new people, and I get how you're afraid. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand your feelings. And your feelings are valid. And I think it's just another part of, okay, all of a sudden we have, X amount of refugees. How do we do this? You know what I'm saying? And I look at it from a practical standpoint, right? You know, we do I think through government we do have a duty to help out other humans from countries when they're fleeing conflict. You know what I'm saying? Like refugees are human beings and they have rights. And when their country explodes from within and expels them, um, other countries around should be like, hey, listen, like, we're here for you as long as you need us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's tough and it's hard and it's a financial, it's it's a hard financial thing to do, and but it's like you got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't mean that every single person has to go to a soup kitchen in a refugee camp, but I'm saying like if Kenya can hold tens of thousands of Somalian refugees, uh, if the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the one of the poorest countries on earth, although it is developing really fast, if one of the poorest countries on earth can host hundreds of thousands of Rwandan refugees after the Rwandan genocide, one of the poorest countries on earth, may I say, helped by UN agencies, I get it, can handle that, then I think Europe can handle a few million refugees from Africa and Syria. I'm using refugees to also talk about economic migrants and asylum seekers, right? So like I said, it's tough and it's a hard transition. And like in my opinion, like the European governments and the European Union didn't handle it well. You know what I'm saying? Instead of coming up with a step by step action plan. Okay, so where, like building facilities, opening up processing centers, devoting more people to work at these things to help process and to help, work with the UN to place these people not just in Europe, but, globally. I mean, hey, South American countries might take a couple people, Asian countries. Like instead of Europe coming up with a call to action plan, by Europe I mean the European Union, and then working with the UN and the rest of the world to come up with a, a way to like take these people in, distribute them, help them, you know, fit into the society around them, and also educate, for example, the people like Germans and whatever on these new people, and organizing and it's also like not just on like a federal and European Union level, but also on like a local level, like organizing if there's a whole bunch of new people in the town because they're refugees or whatever, organizing like a community event and like bringing together culture from the town and like culture from the new people, and like like from the localist of local levels to the highest of the European Union and the UN. This could have been handled way better. But it wasn't. It was handled like shit. And now you have people on the far right protesting openly in Europe, trying to bring back Nazism. Listen. Out of all the decades to bring back, like I love, let's bring back the '80s fashion, '70s, '90s, '60s, '50s. Let's leave the '40s in the '40s. Let's do that. I'm not a big fan of bringing back the 1940s. It's not my vibe. Um, it's just not what I'm not on the earth to bring back the '40s. I think that was a little bit of a rough patch in humanity, and it seems to me that a big population in Europe wants to bring it back, and that's fucked up. That's real fucked up. That's really fucked up. Because we're hearing a whole bunch of like white nationalist Nazi propaganda about like how white people are allowed to have their own culture. Bitch, of course. Like, of course, if you're fucking German or Irish or French, like, eat your goddamn baguette, eat your little Wiener Schnitzel, pour yourself a glass of Guinness, embrace your culture, be proud of it. Like, yes, bitch, you're allowed to be proud to be German. Like, but, like, I feel like there's two different ways of being proud. There's, like, the being proud out of fear, and then a being proud out, which I think is completely unjustified. But like I still kind of understand where people come from when they say that, but being proud and wanting to share, you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I'm proud to be American, but in a sense of like, where else can you find fried mac and cheese wedges? Where? In what country besides the United States and maybe a shitty restaurant in Canada that wants to be American? Can you find fried mac and cheese wedges? No, I'm serious. Like, you think I'm joking, but I'm not. Like, this is something to be proud of. Okay, first of all, who doesn't like mac and cheese? And this includes, like, you can make mac and cheese wedges vegan. Um, you know what I'm saying? Mac and cheese isn't haram, you know what I'm saying? So everyone fucking loves mac and cheese, even if it's vegan, because you can make it vegan. There's really no excuse. It's wonderful, fried mac and cheese wedges. But people, are like, I don't know, Kate May's great, but the way I'm proud of America isn't a way to share it. Like, I'm just like, yes, bitch, come to America. Let's share the awesomeness that it is. You know what I'm saying? I think that like everyone else's nationalism should be the same. And I'm all for like independent thought, but like I'm not for independent thought when it, you know, results in the mass genocide of other people. That's not cute. That's not a look. I don't want to see a 1940s lookbook on YouTube because it might involve genocide. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to get us to away from genocide because I feel like, I'm not saying we're headed that direction, but like if it happened, I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be like, oh, wow, didn't expect that. I'm not saying I'm expecting, I'm just saying it's like, after a while, those fucked up opinions become mainstream, and then all of a sudden you have 800,000 dead bodies everywhere, and you're just like, oh shit, what happened in the blink of an eye? So I'm just like, I'm just alluding, I'm just warning, I'm just kind of like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the governments in Europe just handled it like shit, and that's why the situation is the way it is now. And to be honest, it's not even like people like it's not like fucking crisis mode. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, people in Europe are just living their lives, continuing, going grocery shopping. It's not that dramatic. You know what I'm saying? It's like when people blow up Rio de Janeiro, and it's like, oh, it's not a fucking war zone. Okay, like, yes, there are shootouts in the favelas. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, and there's lots of problems. But and people do get assaulted at gunpoint. But like for the most part, like life goes on. People still go to the grocery store. People still go to work. People still take the bus. People still go to the beach. They still enjoy life. They still go to their friend's house on their birthday. Like you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's just like how I feel about the refugee, ish topic in Europe. Um, it's ridiculous to think that quote unquote Muslims are replacing European. First of all, there are a lot of people who are European and Muslim. So being Muslim and in Europe, like being a Muslim European or a European who practices Islam, is just as old as Europeans who practice Christianity. Well, I mean, not just as old, but you know, there's like a 600-year difference there. But um, like Islam has been in Europe, has been a part of European society for a long fucking time. Okay, all right. So is it really because you're concerned about your culture being unpreserved, or is it because you're racist? You don't like people different from you. Okay? To all you gay people, too, that are voting for far right people, you're fucking stupid. The second they get in power, they're going to ban you. Just saying. Just saying. Just letting you know. Just, I'm going to sip that tea, even though it's water. That's all I have to say on that issue. Right that in there. Anyway, guys, this is 17 minutes too long. I will see you in the next video. Go check out all my other ones. Let's have conversations. Let's be great. Let's be smart. Let's be intellectual. I don't know. I have to go to the gym. I have work today. Oh my God. Life is so hard. I'll talk to you guys next time. Hopefully not in a political way. LOL. My BFF gel. Ciao. Beijinhos. Até logo.